Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California and welcome to my mess. Now, today I want to talk about starting seeds, which is something we are already doing. But it will depend on your area if it's ready for you to start your seeds, and it will also depend on what you're trying to grow. Now, if you're going to grow tomatoes, I've got tomatoes growing in my kitchen window all winter. Tomatoes you can start to grow. I don't have any tomatoes here and I thought I had one. Let me go get it. Sorry about that, I'm back. I had to get it out of my kitchen window. These tomatoes have been growing all winter in my kitchen window. Look how big this one is. Now, this one is a popolo. Let's not look at this. It shouldn't even be growing, but it is growing. It is actually more of a summer and fall plant, but this is a tomato. We'll get back to tomatoes in a second on those. Tomato plants are a good one you can start right now if you want in your house, and there's all different ways of starting it. And let me tell you something with tomatoes. They're very easy to transplant. And that's what you want to think about. Plants that are easy to transplant and plants that are good to start now. Tomatoes are good to start now. You could start some peppers. Now I started, let me move some of this and we'll get back to this in a minute, some squash. I also started some squash, this is zucchini, and I also started some squash outside. Now when I first put my squash seeds in here, they didn't grow. I checked them a few days later and they hadn't grown. Now what I had done is I put my zucchini seeds in just a paper towel that was damp in a plastic bag, and I just sat them on the counter. That wasn't warm enough, so nothing happened. So what I did was I ended up putting it back, like you could go back and see my videos how I wrap them with cardboard. I put a piece of cardboard on each side, sandwiched it in, put it in the plastic bag, and then I found a cardboard box I had, put it in a cardboard box in the plastic bag. I have a whole video on this. And when I did that and came back 3 days later, they were already growing. The reason is, and I put them on top of the refrigerator, which they were sitting actually on the counter and then on the refrigerator, it still didn't grow. The box acts as if it's in soil, and it holds the darkness in there good, so they think they're underground and it's time to grow, and it's a little warm in a cardboard box and sandwiched between cardboard. And it gives it a little bit of warmth. So now I went back and I checked it and they are growing. So I was quite pleased with that. Now here's my dilemma. I tested some squash seeds outside and I put them in one of my totes. They're not growing. And when I see that they're not growing outside, it's not the right time. Normally, I go and I compost in place, dump everything that I've been eating. See how they're growing beautifully? They are just growing beautifully, but the problem is I'm going to have to really baby them, because if I try to put them outside too early, they're not going to grow. They could just sit still for a while, which would be perfectly fine, or they could die back. Squash, zucchini, pumpkin, watermelon could be a little temperamental on that. So get those planted and started in the house when you know your frost is going to be, gone for a good 5 or 6 weeks, and you can start putting it in the ground. Because if you plant them outside and then you get a freeze like we did last night, they were in the 30s a lot of places, you'll lose those. Now, tomatoes, as I was going to talk about, you could start those anytime. Anytime you want to start tomatoes, you can do that. The reason is, this whole stem here will grow roots. So even if the plant gets leggy, and this is not leggy, this one's actually quite beautiful, you could bury it all the way down. I don't bury mine sideways. Some people have this thing that they lay it sideways, and I don't do that, because you do risk losing it. But what I would do is bury it a good amount down. It will grow roots all through here. Now, wherever you see fuzz, on the plant does not mean it's going to grow roots, because as you look, the fuzz goes all the way through, all through the leaves. It's the main stem, and it's any main stems. Even a branch off will grow roots, so you can snap those off, plant them, keep them well watered, and as long as they're watered, they'll grow. Tomatoes are very good to start now. Now let me show you a trick that I've been doing, and Gary loves it. I make these little, well, what do you want to call it, nurseries? You say you're covering up? Nope. This is it. Let me show you here these growing. This is mustard. I already started mustard, and I did get some outside already. This is the lazy way of starting seeds. The lazy way. And the reason I say it's lazy, I don't water them. I set them up, and I forget them. That's it. Put the seeds in and don't bother with them. Gary loves it, and he told me today he wants like 10 of them to go in his back room. So this is why I like this. I put my mustard seeds in here and I labeled them, and I put some pepper seeds, which are now coming up, and this is well labeled, and I know now that this is orange peppers and this is purple mustard coming up. Now I can transplant these. I'll get them out with a little spoon. I love spoons. I get them at Walmart, $1/4 a piece. They're like a 4-pack for $1, and spoons are wonderful to move plants around. These are getting ready to go outside. Mustard is really good. You can get that outside even if it's cold. It's not going to hurt it. But this is the lazy way. You literally don't have to do anything to it. This one, I have broccoli growing. You know for who? Kitty loves her broccoli. I've already moved 5 of them out, and there's 3 more left in here. And then Gary's got some plants in here, which is really nice. You can write on the side what they are. And it's some sort of ice plant he wanted. He told me, please plant them. So I planted them in here. I couldn't even see the seeds. It looked like powder. And I thought, these things are never going to grow. And these little spots started showing up. And he's all excited now, because now he's got a whole bunch of these. And he wants to set up a whole bunch more of these containers. So once they get to a good size, he can get them out in his garden. Let me show you real quick how to set up these containers if you want to do something really lazy. What I do is I've got these water bottles. I happen to like bottled water. I don't drink a lot of it, but I do buy a little bit. And I ended up with all these, and what was I going to do with it? Well, let's see. It's going to take you forever, just forever, to make one of these. They're just so complicated. And, you know, you'll be working all day trying to figure out, how am I going to cut this, and how am I going to set this up. I don't want to really do it. It's going to take too long, and I don't know. We're done. There it is. I was kidding. It really is easy. What you do, oh, Gary loves these. Like I said, I'll show you what to do. You take a paper towel. Take the cap off. You don't need the cap from the water bottle, and then you've got this. What you do here is you put your paper towel, take your paper towel. It's this easy. This is really a lazy, lazy way of growing seeds. I wouldn't do all types of seeds this way, but many types of seeds you can do this way. See the paper towel comes through the bottom? You're making a wicking bed in the house. Now you spread the paper towel, tuck it in there, spread it in there, and that is it. You fill this up with potting soil. I use regular potting soil, and if it's got a lot of chunks in it, some of the cheaper ones do, then I strain it, and I just use, not really fine, but a 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch mesh. You can put it through and strain it. And then I kind of, well, you don't really even fill it up. You can see it's just part way through. And it's about halfway up, you know, to just underneath the handle. You fill it up with your soil. You fill this up with water. Oh, not to the top, just halfway. Sit it in there. You quick put some water on the top to make sure your soil gets started, and that is it. I haven't watered this one in over a week, maybe 2 weeks. See, the paper towel will get kind of funky, but it doesn't matter. This is going to go out. And as long as there's water on the bottom, by nature it wicks up, and the soil stays damp. You don't have to do any more. You just put your water in there, plant your seeds, set it aside, and you're done. Now, to trick the seeds, some of them do need warmth, like peppers. The lazy way for me to do it is to put some pepper seeds in a paper cup. I have paper cups and cans. And you know how it is. Sometimes I plant the whole paper cup. This I just had sitting on the window. These are peppers. Now what I do is I keep this on the kitchen window. And when I'm doing dishes or something, I take some warm water with my hand and I water the container. It thinks it's warm. It thinks it's summer. It's late spring. It's time to grow. And the peppers are growing. Peppers need a lot of warmth. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you can get a heat mat. I bought a heat mat that I'm going to put on my windowsill for certain seeds that will need some warmth. You know, there's a lot of different things that will need a little bit of warmth. Lettuce doesn't. Tomatoes really don't. Peppers do. It depends on what you want to grow. And if you can't get them started, your zucchini, your squash, your watermelon, all those. Cucumbers, a little bit of warmth. You can set it on a heat mat. Now this heat mat goes to about, I tested it, about anywhere from 80 to 85. But what you're going to do is, well, there's different ways of doing it. You could do the plastic bag, cardboard, and just lay your box on top. That little bit of warmth will tell your seeds it's spring and it's time to sprout. The other thing you could do, if you're going to grow, let's say, something in a cup, you could just put your cups on it. This is a little purple tree color that doesn't need it, but just as an example, you can put your plants on here. You can put a seed tray on here. You can even put one of these on here if you want. And it would give it that little bit of warmth, thinking it's time to grow. This little one was about $8. And then Gary wanted a bigger one. I haven't even opened the bigger one yet. Let's take a look at it. This one's plugged in. And it's warm. It's nice. It's not as warm as a heat pad. And that's why you don't want to use a heat pad. It can get too warm. A human heat pad for people, that will just get too warm. This doesn't get that warm. It's low voltage, or I should say low wattage, and so it's a gentle warmness. But that is a way you can get your seeds to start at the wrong time of the year. Now this one Gary wanted to see. This one is a 3x20, and that's the mat. And I opened it up, and there was all kinds of stuff in there. There's a little packet to pack it away, and this little bag. I might use it for something else. I like this little bag. Maybe I brought my cell phone in it. But it came with all kinds of little things in there. That was interesting. And now here's this one. I haven't even opened it. Let's see. I think this one was about $8, and this was a little bit more. And I don't remember how much. I'll have to look it up. See how it comes? Beautiful little packet there. And then, of course, you take it out. Now, let me tell you, when you take it out, it's going to be really curled. And you're going to go, oh, no! How in the world am I going to put my seeds on there? Look at this. This thing doesn't want to open. When you plug it in and it warms up, it will lay flat, like plastic does. It will relax. You put it in that place, you want to put it. Put something heavy on top for about an hour or two. And there it is. You've got your heat mat. This is perfect for like big trays. You can put all kinds of trays on this. It's small, and that's great. Now, this is only for starting your seeds, not necessarily growing. Now, if you're going to grow things that really need a lot of sunlight, then you're going to really need grow lights. We don't use grow lights. I find a nice sunny window and I put my plants there. There's nothing wrong with grow lights. If you've got a room or a place to put grow lights, put your grow lights. That would be fantastic. Because if you don't, for certain plants, like let's say your squash, you'll get a leggy plant. Now with a squash, in the squash family, or watermelon, you end up with something, even cucumber, you end up with a leggy plant. It will like grow really stringy and leggy, and it will be floppy. Those may not come back. They need the sunlight. They need to think it's spring. And a lot of times you'll plant those and they'll be suffering and the plant will just die back. So you don't want to plant too early. Let me tell you, when the time is right and spring is here, you can't stop the seeds from growing. I've got my whole compost bins outside, which are composting in place, and I'm growing plants. They're growing. I've got tomatoes coming up, celery coming up, squash seeds that got in there coming up, peppers, everything is coming up, potatoes are growing. So when it's time to grow, they really want to grow, and they grow practically overnight. So you don't have to worry about starting too early. But tomatoes, I would, because in some areas, you have a short growing season and you want to get your tomatoes started. And tomatoes don't mind being in the house. They'll just get long, but see how beautiful the stem is? And then again, you can plant it way down. Don't break the roots, just take it out and bury this part underground, and it will develop roots all through here. I wouldn't bury too much, and that's all you need to do, and they're very, very forgiving. So you've got plants that are easy to move, like lettuce is easy to move. Peppers are easy. You can just take this, I can just take this out. And when I take it out and break this apart, the pepper roots will be easy to separate, and then I can put them in their own container, or I can get them out inside in the yard, whatever way, I'm going to plant it at the time. They do separate well. This is why you want to use potting soil. Potting soil, when you sift it, is fine, and you won't have a lot of pieces of, let's say, bark or wood matter where they'll wrap their roots around. They'll all wrap their roots and they'll get intertangled. When you use sifted potting soil or a seed mix, a young seed mix, a seed starter mix, it's very fine. So this is very annoying. I'm trying to talk and all I hear is buzzing on both sides. When it's really fine like that, it's very easy to separate the plant. I could almost do this here, but I don't have a pot ready, and shame on me. I did not write down what kind of peppers they are. I should have, and this is why I'm starting to label things. Labeling is important. I know I've got mustard. Now I know I've got peppers growing in the window and what they are, and this one I didn't. A lot of times I'm eating peppers, and I'll just throw seeds in the pots that I keep on the window. This is the window. That is just popolo that's dying back. But they will separate easy. I can show you how easy they are. Let's see if we can start this. Peppers do. Last year I got black cobra, and there was one that was smaller than that. There were 3 plants in there, and I'm telling you, they were really easy to separate. And they are forgiving if you break the roots a little bit. Just make sure you don't let them dry out. But it's amazing how easily they'll separate. See the roots? Isn't that beautiful? This is growing in my kitchen window. But just see, that's it. I got the pepper out. See the root? It's all one beautiful root. Now I got to get this thing planted as soon as I shut the camera off. But it's very, very easy. I'm going to tuck this thing back in here right now to separate. So that I wouldn't worry about it with peppers. Now I found moringa. Sometimes they don't transplant. You go to transplant them and the plant dies. So think about what you want to start. Think about how you want to start it. And think about how much work you want to put into it. If you want to just plant a bunch of plants and label, please label, because I always say I'm going to remember what it is, and I never do. If you want to plant a bunch of seeds, label them what they are. You can plant things that don't look alike. Like I've got mustard growing with peppers in here. I know that these are peppers. I know this is mustard. So I know what's what. But if you wanted to do a whole bunch in this, and you can use a soda bottle, you can use even food containers, the same thing. Make a hole on the bottom. No hole on this one. Drag through the paper towel. Nestle it up really nice. Put your potting soil in there, and then you don't have to think about watering it. That's why Gary wants a whole bunch. He wants me to make him a whole bunch. He can make them, but he told me to make them for him. I'll make them. And they're just so easy to put together. And this is going to wick the water up into the soil. The soil will automatically pull the water in, and the seeds have the right amount of water. They're just lightly damp the way it would be in nature. It rains, the water goes down, and it works fantastic. Label them. Now, you can actually write on the plastic. We ended up with so many of these, and we're not really recycling. Most of the stores don't want it back. The recycling centers all around this closed. It was a mess, and we ended up with all these, and Gary said, what are you going to do with them? Well, there's a few things you can do with them. You can cut the bottoms off, and you can use this as a tent to cover your new seedlings outside. That will work too. If I take that pepper and put it out in one of my totes right now, I can just cut the bottom off of one of these containers and set this on top, pop the top, so it's got a good airflow, but it will protect it from roly-polies, from birds, from anything that wants to bother it, and this will keep the plant covered. And that's what is so fantastic. Of course, you're only going to cut the bottom on that, see? And then you can have a little greenhouse outside. And then when the weather warms up, you can just, well, use them for something else. You can plant lettuce and different things in these containers. Remember, if you're planting directly in this, you want to put holes. But when you're doing this as a seed starter, there's no holes. But that's how easy it is to do this. And as far as tomatoes for me, this is what the tomato is supposed to look like. These came off the plants this morning. They're still hanging on a lot of the plants. If you bust these open, you will see that they're full of seeds. And if I squish this into one of these, I will end up with hundreds of little tomato plants. Tomatoes are the easiest things to grow. And you'll smell it and think, gee, it smells a little fermented. Well, that's what Mother Nature's doing. She's taken this all year and left this on the plant. I took this off this morning. They start to dry out, but they're never going to dry completely. Then they start to ferment. As they're fermenting, it is taking the casing that's on the seeds of the tomato plant, and it's starting to break it down. But it's also giving a message to the tomato, the seeds, we're getting ready to grow. Then they'll fall to the ground, they'll rot into the ground, and then you will end up with tomatoes everywhere. Not a lot of things eat baby tomato plants. Then I have to go through and thin them out. So with tomatoes, you can put a whole bunch of tomato seeds in there. If you have a tomato in your garden that's still hanging out and you think, oh, it's so bad, I can't eat it, it's no good, squish it in there in the potting soil that you've got planted in there, and you will end up with more tomato plants than you know what to do with. So I think I've answered and talked about a lot of different things. Don't forget, we talked about this last year. I file my seeds now in books, and I know where everything is. I absolutely love using photo books for this. This is fantastic. Well, they all went away. Oh, I know why they went away. Hey, go, go. The Cooper hawk has decided to build a nest again, and she just came and perched herself here, and she drove all the hummingbirds. It's okay, he's gone now. He or she is gone. It's all right. It's all right, they're gone. She's gone. I always know when there's a hawk around. I don't think the hawk really wants hummingbirds, even though they can, but they just hang around. They don't like them. See, they're coming back now. The books have been fantastic. I marked this one beets and root vegetables, and I know right away, oh, I have radishes in here and different things. Not only is it great to file in, that you know where everything is, and by the way, this is some old kohlrabi seeds that are from '09. I put some in here, and I just saw while I was talking to you, they're starting to sprout, and these are from sell-by December '09. Okay, well, these are old and they're good, so that's going to be really cool. But this will keep your seeds dry. It will keep them right there where you know where everything is. You can stack these anywhere. You can put them in a box. You can just put them anywhere. Put them in a shelf, a bookshelf. I just have them in a big plastic container now, and I drop them in there. And not only do I do that, but I also do my own seeds. So I'll put my own seeds in here, and see, I found this in here yesterday. I was looking and thought, oh my goodness, 2018 green beans from my garden. So I'm going to soak a couple of these and get these growing. It's just so neat, clean, and easy to find all your seeds. I keep envelopes from, let's say, advertisements that come in the mail, or you get a bill and you're supposed to mail it away, but you're paying online. You got an extra envelope. You take the envelope, you keep the envelope if it's got a plastic window. If it doesn't have a plastic window, it won't work. And then just hold on to those envelopes, write what seeds you put in there, and in the meantime, just file the envelopes in the back of your book so you've got them, so you quickly can pull one out. And there's a lot of things. Sometimes, like I don't know if it's here, I bought some potato mint from somebody, must be in my other book, and I kept the notes. So I know, I don't have it here, I know exactly the notes he gave me on how to take care of it. Yeah, it's in my other book. And I filed that in here. So as I thumb through, I can see how to take care of it, how to plant it, when to plant it, and everything. But in the meantime, any seeds you've got are in here. And when you plant your seeds, like here's Roselle Red. This is from Baker Creek. You open it up, you take the seeds out you want. You don't have to go dump the whole thing in your garden or dump the whole thing in there. I would never plant all of them. I literally sometimes count the seeds, mark it on the container how many I am planting. And then I know how good the seeds are, how many came up. In the meantime, I've got this for years. As long as your seeds are dry, you can keep your seeds for many years. Look, the kohlrabi that's in here, I know you won't be able to see it because it's such a tiny seed. That's over 10 years old. That's like 12 years old, that seed, and I never grew kohlrabi, and I looked at it, thought I bought it, I never grew it. I actually put a note in here so I would remember, and I found one just now. We didn't see it yesterday, so it's finally starting to sprout. There it is. I have a kohlrabi sprouting, so now we'll have to get that in the ground, or not in the ground. I'll just leave it here for now, make sure it sprouts good, and then I'll get it in a pot. So with that, I think I've answered a lot of questions that people have asked about seeds or thought about it, or at least given you my opinion on how I do things. I really do like this. The reason I put the cardboard, go back and watch video, is it keeps everything nice and straight. I just use cardboard from boxes, and it keeps it nice and straight, and it keeps the roots from bending or breaking. So that's why I wrap the wet paper towel with the seeds around the cardboard, put it in the plastic bag, because remember, if it dries out, it won't come back, the seedling. If the seedling dies, at that point, it is gone. So you don't want it to dry out. And that's it. Now I can take this, put it anywhere I want, and remember to leave the label in there, or I could forget what I've got. So I think I've gone over everything here. I use tin cans that I've got just to put my cups in. See, here's a pepper. Now I can plant the whole thing in the ground. I can split this cup later if I want. This is a pepper plant. Leave the pepper in the cup, and the reason a lot of times I do that, pop the bottom out, cut some of the cup away, is when I go to water this baby pepper plant when it's outside, and I could use one of these as a tent to protect it, I know that plant's getting a good amount of water and the right amount of water, and it will run through. That's why I like leaving it in the paper cups and popping the bottom. Hint, paper cups are not paper, just so you know that. So you want to make sure that that bottom is popped out really good, and if you want, you can make a couple slits. It may tell you they're paper, but I have found that they're not paper, and as they disintegrate in your garden, you'll find a little cellophane a lot of times of plastic, because these are actually cellophane plastic lined in paper, which is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm just letting you know that if you left it this way, it won't, a lot of times it can't break through because it's not true paper. So you will need to help it by making sure you pop the bottom out. That's all you have to do, is by popping the bottom out, then the plant can leave at that point, and the plant will bust the pot open at the seam, which is perfectly fine. So that's it. Now I gotta go get my garlic all planted. This is that other way of doing it. This is for sprouting garlic only, not for starting seeds. But see, same concept. Oh, look at the roots coming down through here. Take a water bottle, cut the top off, put paper towel in the top, sit a bunch of garlic cloves in there, and now it's constantly damp and it's growing. So I got up to find that my cameras went off. All three of them, it looks like, went off. 3 cameras, a top one and one there and one there. So anyways, I'm going to end this, but what I was showing you is this is the same thing, same concept of how the lazy man's seed starter is. This is a water bottle that's been cut, and then I put a paper towel through it. I showed you this on the garlic, and just, that's it. There's water in there. You could grow seeds this way, but it's too small, really. This is perfect for starting garlic in, and then once it gets a little bit of a top, it gets a little bit of a top. And that's basically it. And it's just an easy way of doing it, and you don't have to think about, did I remember to water it? Oh my gosh, it dried out, because if seedlings dry out, they don't come back. And then, of course, I've got my elephant garlic. Gary, this morning we were looking at this, and he said, I asked him, there were 3 cloves on it when we broke it apart, and when I put them all in the way I do it with the soil and started them, 2 of them started growing roots. This did not grow any roots. So he said he wanted elephant garlic. So I gave him the 2 good ones with the roots. This one didn't have any roots, and I put it in soil, and he said to me, oh, you've got, yours is green. I said, is yours green? He said, no, they're not green yet. And I said, oh, well, mine's growing. He goes, yeah, but it's no good. And I said, why isn't it any good? He goes, because you're growing from the top. You're not growing any roots. So I don't know. So anyways, it's growing and I never opened it. I never looked at it. Oh my goodness. Boy, is that strong. And there's no water in this. Boy, does that smell strong like garlic. I didn't know it was growing roots out of the bottom. See how it's coming through the seams? Because the paper cups aren't paper, they're plastic. So it's pushing through the seam. Oh, he's going to get a kick out of this. So anyways, I guess my garlic isn't bad after all. This is elephant garlic. We know it's more in the leek family than the garlic, but it doesn't matter. This is really cool. This was not organic. I got this from Walmart. It was 1 clove for like $2 or $3. And this is really, one bulb I should say, really cool. I'm going to get this planted in one of my totes and keep an eye on it in my garden. And I labeled mine. Mine says elephant garlic from Walmart. And this way I'll be able to know it's not garlic, it's not an onion, it's what it is. You know what, let me tell you real quick before I end this. A lot of you have come to me and said, what are we going to do with all these tote lids? You had me buy totes. I got lids everywhere. My daughter gave me what? Close to 20 tote lids. I scored. Let me tell you, I scored. I don't even think I'm going to have enough tote lids. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff with tote lids soon. I dragged this out so long, all my cameras are shutting off on me and saying, we don't want to hear you. Don't throw the tote lids away. Put them under your bed or whatever you have to do. This makes, tote lids make the greatest plant stakes. I'll show you how to cut them up, how quickly you can get them to the size you want, and how we're going to do it. There are so many things I'm going to do with tote lids. It's unbelievable. And we'll go with one at a time. We'll go over the different things because my mind is exploding with all the tote lids that I'm coming up with ideas. In fact, Gary's looking to use tote lids for his ideas now. So keep your tote lids. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to. I've killed my camera batteries. And I didn't even realize, I thought this was going to be 5 minutes. So for you people that have been writing to me and saying, your videos are too short, you want a long one. You got it today. You got a long one. Hummingbirds want me out of here. There's a tote lid out there too. Anyways, with that, I'm done. I want to get stuff planted in the garden. And I'm going to make sure everything is well labeled so I know what I'm growing this time and not have to guess and take you on a garden tour and go, I think that's, or is it, or what seed did I put there? Now I'll know. With that, have a great day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody. It's too cool. I never lifted it this morning when we were talking about it. Oh, I'm going to surprise him when he comes in. Cool. Do you remember the terrible things you said to me this morning about my poor elephant garlic?
That it should be setting roots before the grain.
And you said, this doesn't mean it's good.
Okay. Okay, so it's...
I didn't even know. When I was doing the video, I picked it up and all these roots came popping out. There's not even any water in there. It's dry. And it is setting root.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. It should be developing roots before it develops the grain, and that's how...
So obviously it's full of roots now and it's leaving the pot. It's breaking the seams. But yours doesn't have any green.
No, mine doesn't have any green.
So what happened to this poor... This was the one that just sat there.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked this morning, but I haven't noticed any grain coming up.
Isn't that funny? That's what I was going to show you. Because I pulled it out, and it shocked me, because this morning when we were talking about it, you said, well, I said, look at all the nice growth, and you said, well, the nice growth doesn't mean anything, because it's not setting root. And I never lifted it to see. So it's breaking out of these pots that are actually not paper.
So it's developed a really... Go on.
No, I was just going to say, you know, I always say they're paper, but they're not. They're cellophane. But see, it only can break through the seam because this is plastic. It can't eat through.
So obviously it has developed a good root system.
I guess I'll just stick it in one of my totes and see what happens compared to yours. Okay, that's all.
Yep.
Did you want a pen? There's two, but if you don't need
No, I don't need any pens. I've got plenty of pens.
Yeah, but these are UV and fade resistant.
Yeah,
These are better.
Yeah, I've got plenty.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. See, this one may not be a Sharpie. Some of them are from the dollar stores and they look like Sharpies, but they're not.
Yeah.
That's a Sharpie.
That's a Sharpie.
Yeah. This one, I think, I'm not sure. No, those are not. So they don't draw as good. All right, because I got a 2-pack. That's all. I just didn't know if you wanted, I'm going to label a lot. See, this is the fake Sharpie, and this is the real Sharpie. But this is not supposed to come off. I don't know if this will. I don't know. Maybe it won't. Maybe they'll be good too. But I went ahead and got these. All right, that's it.
Okay. Oh.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is cool. So now we both have elephant garlic.
Yeah, but this was the biggest one. It just didn't grow. It wasn't growing. That's why I said don't bother putting it in the tote. It didn't develop a root system. It didn't do anything in the beginning, really. And then it had a little bit of green. I said, well, I'll keep that one because it's growing green before it's growing roots. Oh, this is freezing. All right.
Okay, so the lesson is don't give up hope on stragglers. Because they may end up being the best.
Don't give up hope. I didn't. We could have eaten it. I'm not sure if I'll even use that, but I couldn't stop laughing when I saw that.